This is the conversation that we've been having a lot here on this stage, which is the polarization of issues that's not just a result of the far right, but also the far left. So you describe this as the opinion corridor, which I understand is actually a Swedish word. Can you explain to the viewer what the opinion corridor is?
Yeah, well, it's a word for political correctness, and Donald Trump's favorite term. I guess I would say just because Donald Trump uses it doesn't mean it's completely specious. And so in Sweden, far more than in the United States, there is a deep sense of one does not talk about unpleasant things because they might lead you to do unpleasant things, exactly as the premise of your question was. And so I learned this expression from someone who is a relatively rare centrist in the Swedish debate, who says, we have an obligation to take all these people. I am proud as a Swede that we took all these people. But we have to be honest about the enormous difficulty that will come in integrating these people. And we can't just say, isn't it great that Sweden is a cosmopolitan society? Isn't it great that Sweden is an open society and that we honor our moral commitments? No. If that's all we say, we are not going to prepare ourselves for this difficulty. For example, she said, so long as Sweden offers social benefits to newcomers much greater than those of the surrounding country, it will be a magnet. And we want to be welcoming, but we don't want to be a magnet. Therefore, we have to find a way of adjusting the benefits we offer so that everybody doesn't say, let's go to Sweden. People should be distributed among different European countries. So she said to me, these questions are things nobody wants to talk about. And then she told me that we have this word in Swedish, åsiktskorridor, which she said translates as opinion corridor, which is that narrow place that it is okay to go down, and if you step outside of it, then you are being un-Swedish. You're being ungenerous,
You're being
unidealistic.
Unpolitically correct.
You're being politically incorrect.
Is it also counterproductive when it comes to policy to not, I mean, I guess you allude to this, to not be acknowledging some of the data on jobs that your professor in Sweden,
of course you have
who wouldn't
to.
give you his name because he was
name
so worried about
right.
sounding politically incorrect.
No, he sounds politically incorrect for a living. He was worried about people, coming out, knocking on his door and telling him that he was a monster. How can we have an honest policy discussion? I mean, let's think about an analogy in this country. For a long time, there were a lot of things about welfare that it was considered unacceptable to say. And Bill Clinton, to his great credit, said a lot of them. And he said, we have to change the welfare system because there is such a thing as welfare dependency. And the problems of the underclass are not wholly caused by racism, structural and otherwise, but also caused by behavior that's being reinforced by our welfare system.
Which to a lot of Democrats was sacrilegious
anathema.
To say. Yes.
It was and it was racist.
Right.
It was racist. Well, that's why it's really hard to say that stuff, but it is true. And so the more the Democrats couldn't say that, the more they backed themselves into a corner, which was all too easy for Republicans to exploit because they couldn't bring themselves to say things that a lot of people believed to be so. And so Clinton actually kind of lanced that boil by speaking that painful truth. And so we need to separate the need to recognize, honestly, hard problems from the wish for simplistic and cruel answers. So it is simply not the case that being honest about hard things causes Donald Trump. If anything, I would say refusing to talk about those hard things leaves the field open to the populist demagogue like Donald Trump.